Yeah, as you know, today's topic is articulation of thoughts, or I'm just going to talk about articulation, okay? Ananya, could you tell me what in your manner or what for you is articulation?
um, I guess articulation of thought is basically the process or through which you think things through and make, like, in I think the simplest of the terms, what I'm saying right now, I'm articulating it in my mind and then speaking it out loud. So I think that's what
Absolutely.
articulation is.
Absolutely, yes, you got it right. Yes. It's basically expression, right? So, us expressing ourselves. So, it's a very simple methodology, I feel. I recently read somewhere that, we are not actually speaking, we are translating our thoughts. And it's 99%. It's not 100% correct, right? Because we are constantly translating. So that's what
Yes.
articulation is all about. You're expressing your thoughts, you're expressing what you feel like verbally, non-verbally, written, etc., etc. So today we are going to talk about articulation of thoughts, particularly to do with communication, Ananya, because communication, as we've been having sessions and we have been talking about it, that how do you speak well, how to speak fluently, what words to use, what to use, etc., etc. But when it comes to talking, it's also about how well you're practiced or how much background you have of what you're going to speak, right? Yes. So
All
that's what
right.
we are going to do.
Okay, coach, and I just want to remind our viewers, if you have any questions or if you feel like you also want to say something on the topic, feel free to drop a comment below and we will definitely, read the comments out loud too. All right,
Yes,
coach. So I guess, coach, articulation is important whether it is in your everyday life or even in your professional life, right?
true. Of course, of course. And I think that it's a bad thing actually because we've gotten so comfortable over text and digital communication. I feel all of us, most of the people, have forgotten the entire process of thought that goes into a communication. I'll give you a very simple example, Ananya. Whenever you're teaching small kids, like these days, whenever I'm dealing with small children, and when I ask them, why don't you search this on internet? They use the Google voice thing and they just like, yeah, Siri or whatever, etc. Search for this. They've forgotten how to type. They don't know the spellings, or they wouldn't know in what context should I do it because it's automatically everything there. So it's making, I feel that due to all of this, it's paralyzing our thought process. Let me put
Right.
it very bluntly. It is paralyzing our thought process. It is also paralyzing the entire, that journey from, okay, searching the right content to speak, the mannerism of speech, because I cannot have the, as we have discussed earlier, there is a different type of communication, there's a different type of presentation every single time, right? So all of this is in vain right now. So what we are going to understand today is that there are 8 steps. I believe that there are 8 steps which help us, I won't say get excellent because it's not an overnight process, but at least get a sense of how to go ahead with it. You know? Yes, 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 Ananya.
All
So,
right.
Ananya, I
Okay.
have to ask a question, okay? It's
Okay.
related to the steps. Have you ever heard your voice note and felt terrified of your voice?
I think always, whenever I record something, even when I watch the IGTV videos later, uh, at
Oh,
times I am terrified. I'm like, okay, I
I
sound
know.
like that.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah, but this is something which happens quite a lot and quite often with me. But at times, on very rare occasions, I do feel like, okay, I sound good. But that is very rare.
Very rare case scenario, absolutely. So that's the first step. Surprisingly, that's the first step. Listening to yourself. Because what happens every time, you're not the first person. Every person I've asked this question, they're like, ah, I is this how I sound? Like, is,
Right.
is this really how I talk? Is the first phrase that I get. And that's true. Unless and until you don't get comfortable listening to yourself, you can imagine what the others could be feeling. Yes?
Right.
I think this is there's a question. I'm so sorry. There's a question. Can we modify our accent while communicating? Okay. I'll answer this question towards the end of the session, Abhinav. Yes. So going back to what I was saying is that you have to, the first step is listening to yourself. So I think one of the most beautiful exercises is that instead of journaling, right? If you're somebody who writes a journal by the end of the day or in the beginning of the day, you make a voice recording or you make a voice note. And I think that's a beautiful step to start. Obviously, like when you're sending a message to someone, you're in an emotion, either in work or excitement or a gossip, you never know. So you won't be that authentic. But when you're doing it for your self analysis, that time I'm sure you would get in all the aspects of it right. And then you listen to yourself. How are you sounding? Are you happy with how you are sounding? That's the most important thing, right? I think this is the first step. Anything, even with writing. Let's say you're not very comfortable with your writing skills. Instead of presenting it in front of anyone, you write and you read it. You reread it. Is that exactly what you wanted to say? Were you on point with all your thoughts and all your expressions that you wanted to put forward? So the analysis of your own speech is the first step to articulate your thoughts better, Ananya. Yes.
All right. Okay. And I
Yes.
guess, Coach, this is like journaling something and writing it down. That is
Uh,
also more time consuming. So when you're
uh,
listening to yourself, apart from the fact that you can even put your emotions into the voice note or the audio
hmm,
message, you're also saving a lot of time. So that could
true.
be really an effective way of learning and managing time at the same time.
Absolutely, absolutely. Which takes me to the second step, that is modifying or monitoring your speed. So, yes, Ananya, I'll tell you one thing. Whenever we are speaking, let's say in our mother tongue, um, we tend to adapt the same speed for all the languages we speak. Yes.
Right.
So it's very important that you pay attention to the first step. That is when you record yourself and when you're listening, when you're analyzing your own recording, that time you pay attention to where you're stressing, where are the intonations you're making yourself, and also what's your speed. And then you modify your speed. See, understand all of you that you cannot be speaking fast all the time. You cannot be speaking slow all the time. That's not how it works. Even if you go back to our IGTVs, even if you go back to any of our conversations, you will see that there is a pitch, high, low, there are intonations, there are pauses. I'm not saying that this is to add more dramatics, but it comes out naturally when you've practiced language enough.
Right.
So, inculcating this habit will only come through once you start analyzing your own speech, that is through audios. Yes, yes, Ananya. Ananya, have you been told that you speak very slow or very fast ever when you were a kid?
At times, yes. I remember I made a video once. It was for some workplace where I was interning, and even though what I said was correct, I was told that my speed of speaking was really slow, which made the video very boring. So I
Oh,
tried to work on it, and like within the month, towards the end of the month, I tried to keep up with the pace. So I
oh,
think I did work on it because I was told, okay, this is something you need to work on.
right, right, yes. No, speed is important, yes. And I've understood one thing is that when we are conversing with adults, I used to be like, see, I'll tell you one thing. Whenever we are conversing with adults or our age group, we have a very normal or rather fast speed speaking, right? But
Right.
when we are doing it with older people or with children, I have to be very slow. I have to be extremely slow. So you should know your audience better. Yes.
Right.
And also, when you're conversing with someone who is not culturally from the same background, please try to understand what I'm trying to say here, who is not geographically and culturally from your background, and your accent is new for them, okay, or foreign for them, that time again, you have to tone it down a bit. Because at the end of the day, we are trying to make our communication more effective and understanding, right? Even if you're speaking fantastic, your grammar is on point, everything fabulous, but the other person didn't understand whatever you spoke, how does it make sense?
Right.
So, yes, these are the first two steps. Actually, I've made a list. Yeah. Yes. So then next is eliminating your filler words. Okay. The third step is eliminating your filler words. Now, Ananya, a lot of people say, mm, uh, yeah, that's very problematic. Once, twice, it's fine. But consistently, if you're doing that, no, it shows you might be very clear with everything you had to say in your mind, but if you're taking so many pauses or breaks and you're using filler words, the listener might feel that you're not a very confident speaker, and we want to avoid that. We want to avoid that, and at every cost for that matter. So please try to avoid filler words more than once or twice. It's fine to use once or twice, but not more than that because it's get annoying to the listener as well. Yes,
Right. Right.
yes. And I think this is very common when people are actually underprepared, or let's say that they're not at all, they have no clue about what they're going to speak, and they're just bruising up some thoughts, some words while they're speaking. That's when you tend to so you take a lot of pauses, and some people just stop, and they pick the sentence right from where they stopped, whereas you should start it again, you should restart the sentence and not from where you stopped. As much as everyone thinks that such silly explanation, why coach is giving such silly explanations, I'm telling you, being a coach, I've seen people do this, really fluent speakers do this mistakes, and that puts you in a spot, that puts you in a very bad spot. So please try to avoid such silly mistakes, I would rather say. Yes. Yes, Ananya, do
Okay.
you have any questions so far?
I guess there's a question in the audience. I can
Yes.
understand English, but not speaking. So, what can I do for that?
I can understand English but not speaking, so what can I do for that? For that, you have to practice speaking English. That's about it. Yes. All you can do is practice speaking English. And I think it's a very good thing. That it means that your listening skills are really good. So you have already crossed aboard the first level. The second thing you have to pay attention to now is writing, reading, and last comes speaking. So please understand, everyone, that there are four factors to any language learning. It starts from listening, then reading, then writing, and then last comes speaking. So yes, so if you can understand, see if you can, you can level yourself up for reading and then writing, and then try with basic conversations. You might have seen these foreign language videos with Spanish, French, or German. Say, learn to say hi, learn to say hello, learn to say what's your name. You can begin like that. I mean, there's no harm. So that's how you can begin. Yes, Sutar, if I were to answer your question. Yep.
I think that was quite a straightforward answer.
Yeah.
So I guess we can move on to the next step, coach.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So the next step is focusing on the final sound. Okay. So when I say final sound, it's about, please try to understand that when you're presenting or when you're having a normal conversation, which word or which content do you want to be more focused on? Now, for example, just right now, I took a longer pause for content and word because I wanted those two words to be in the key point or those two words to be in focus. So accordingly, now it happens naturally with me or Ananya because we've been speaking for a very long time. For beginners who are still understanding, or for people who want to get really fluent, you have to know. These are all tricks. You need to know what do the listeners have to know about what you're speaking. What is it that you are selling through your speech? So that should be your focus key in sound, in final sound, basically, whenever you're speaking. Which takes me to the next point, that is studying other speakers. Now, this happens only when you see and watch a lot of speakers because every speaker has their own style. I've said this before. I think we had a session on uh, finding your own
Presentation.
style. Yes, yes.
And even on presentation, you told
Even
us
on
there's.
presentation. Absolutely. So you will see that every speaker has honed their skill in such a manner that has a particular way and manner of stressing on certain things, of beginning the sentences in a certain manner, or adapting humor in a certain structure. So please try to understand those things. You need not follow only one speaker. You can pick different traits from multiple speakers. However, I believe that after having studied all of them, you would be able to understand what you are comfortable with. But having your own style is very important. So once you've equipped yourself with a particular style, Ananya, I'll tell you. So there is a certain style which I follow, and now it has become like a second behavior for me in English, Hindi, Marathi, Kannada, German, any language you take it. So it becomes very comforting for you, even when you're doing it with other languages. That's what I'm going at. It is not relevant only to English. Please try to understand all of these. The articulation of thoughts are relevant to any language you're picking. Foreign, Indian, I don't, any language. Okay? So, yes. Yes, Ananya. So, I think Ananya, tell me one thing that you tell me one thing that every speaker should have in your perspective.
I think the first and foremost thing that comes to my mind is confidence. Even if you are
Ding, 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 ding,
not
ding. We have got a winner.
yes,
Yes,
right. I think
absolutely. Please
that
go on.
even if we don't have the proper flow of thought, or maybe we have some, say, inhibitions that are stopping us from
Hmm.
appearing as confidence. Being confident is at the end of the day the key to articulating your thoughts in a very precise manner.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I really liked what you said. Even if you're not, pretend to be confident. I love this. I have been told
I
by
do this
every
in my
English
personal
teacher.
life.
Absolutely. Even if you're not confident, just pretend to be confident. It becomes a second nature. Yes. Yes.
I
So,
think we have a question. I have a pause problem while communicating to somebody. How can I control that?
okay. So a pause problem, how can I control that? Well, okay, some people also feel uncomfortable when they're talking to someone. For example, I could be an excellent speaker when I'm talking to you, Ananya, or in academic spheres. But if you put me in front of my relatives, I won't be able to speak. So it is just a joke, but then that's how it is. It also depends on whom you're speaking. Nervousness also causes a lot of pauses. Let's say you're talking to somebody in a senior position or whatever. That could also be one of the reasons. But if you're saying that it's happening with everything, then probably you're not thinking before you're speaking. You know, it's an ongoing process for you, and that could be the problem, which exactly takes me to the next point, that is think before you speak. Yes. Rajendra, please understand that if you are somebody who is not prepared while you're speaking, of course you can't prepare every time you're going to have a casual conversation. However, you would know what to talk, when to talk, how to talk, right? If that is not clear, it creates a lot of constraints in how you're speaking and what you're speaking. That's why I keep going back to the examples of kids because see, Ananya, you must have observed kids will come to you. They are super excited. They want to share something with you, and they're like, this happened. Then I was going to do this. Then they take a pause. No, no. Then this was going to happen. So they're so confused in all that excitement. Now, obviously, we are not excited as much as them, but certainly there's a lot of confusion or there's a lot of striking of emotions or probably narratives in your head. So you need to think before you speak. This is the biggest problem of all. You might have excellent qualities and excellent skills in any sphere of communication, but if you're not thinking before you're speaking, you're going to land up in a big trouble. Certainly, certainly.
And
So
sometimes
Rajan,
you
yes,
land up into you land up in a problem even when you were trying not to fall into the pit of a problem. So
true,
that just
true.
kind of happens.
Absolutely. And Ananya, one more thing which happens is with thinking before you speaking, I think this is very important. That is, there are so many things to be careful right now, right? In addressing certain issues, in the manner we are speaking, in the tone we are speaking. So earlier, everybody had the same tone for everything. For happy, sad, excitement, there's always that one collateral tone. But now it's not like that anymore. If I want to grab your attention, I might have to change my style. If my aim is to deliver a lecture on let's say on World War II, then I might have to change my style. So it also depends on the content. Please try to understand, all to all my listeners, I would like to say this. Please try to understand it also majorly depends on the context and the content in what you're going to speak. So you will have to change accordingly, certainly. Which takes me to the last point, that is addressing your weaknesses. So once you have started with the first step, right from recording yourself, then listening yourself, then analyzing yourself, then studying others speak, then finding out where are you are having blockages, or what is stopping you. When you have done all of it, the last step that is remaining is to find out your weak areas and how you're going to improve them. Yes. And please understand that, do not follow any one particular style. A lot of people are coming up to me and saying that, should we follow American English? Should we follow Indian English? There are so many types these days. See, once your grammar is in place, you need not worry. You need not worry at all about what you're following. Your grammar is universal. So make sure that your grammar, your basics are right. Yes, yes, Ananya.
I had a point in my mind, but
Oh,
I think I
forgot.
lost it. Yeah, but we have a few questions here, so I think we can maybe address them. The first
Yes.
question is, please explain about confidence versus knowledge.
Please explain about confidence versus knowledge. Now, they're not interdependent. Let me clarify this here, that confidence and knowledge are not at all interdependent. Okay? Also, there's a difference between knowledge and information. Information is all these facts, you might know a lot of things, but knowledge is when you understand the crux and the core of what you're doing, anything and everything that you're doing. Now, people have this misconception that the people who are confident are based off knowledge. No, I know very knowledgeable people who are not confident because I don't know their own problems. But yeah, it depends on the personality type. So please understand confidence and knowledge are two different things. A very not knowledgeable person could also be confident, which is great, amazing. I'm happy for the humanity, but not necessarily that they go parallel. So these are two different things. Yes.
Right.
Hmm.
Okay. Another question, Coach. Do we need to control the English fluency as per the age group? I think you already told us
Yes.
this, but I
Yes.
think if you can expand a little bit more on that.
Sure, sure. English fluency as per the age group, yes, certainly, certainly. I wouldn't say that, of course, you have to be very careful about what vocabulary you're using with the children, of course. And a lot of people, especially with children, I've seen that, they are very impressionable. So they will copy you, they'll pick the words from you. So if you're going to introduce, if you're going to make use of very big words, new words, make sure you tell them, you ask them, do you know what this means? Could you guess why I use this? So make it a conversation. And of course, more than age, I also think which circles you're running into. Now, there are certain terminologies which I would use with my teachers group. I would use certain terminologies with my history group, or with my book group. So it depends. It also depends which group are you part of. So age and also, as I said, content and context, both are important. So accordingly, you can fluctuate a bit, but I think once you found your style would be consistent of all these things, regardless of age, culture, etc. So yes, certainly, yeah.
Right. I just got reminded of the point that I wanted to
Yes,
make.
tell me.
So you told us that once you have everything, you've done all the steps, you need to actually apply it. So I realized that we talk a lot about data science in our interviews. So it's like that you have the data, now you have to analyze it, and then you have to work upon it. So
Correct.
that was what
Absolutely.
I was
Yes,
thinking
yes.
about.
No, no, that's true. That's true. Now you've received all of this information. What do you do with this? You have to apply it, right? So that's how it
Right.
is. Now let's say that, you are not somebody who can apply, who doesn't want to study, speakers, who doesn't have anything to apply immediately. Then try to be part of these groups. Please understand you are living in the age, I don't know, golden era of internet, where you have the possibility of being in conversations with endless number of people. So use this as an opportunity to experiment with that. Try to get connected with people from different geographical spheres across the world. Then you will get to see how they use certain terminologies, how they use certain styles of speech, etc. So of course, yes, right,
Right. And I guess
yes.
it all comes down to actually practicing and then learning, because if you have the knowledge, you know what to do, but you're not practicing, what's the point?
Correct, correct. Absolutely, absolutely. You have to. And let's say that you have nobody to speak to, so you're self-recording, and then you can start with writing. I think that's also a very good practice to start with articulation of thought. And if I'm not wrong, what happens with journaling is that you see a pattern. Okay, our personality pattern is straighted down to journaling. Please understand this, because everybody has a style of writing. Just like we have style of speaking, we have a certain style of writing. So in case you don't want to go through the trouble of talking and analyzing and all of it, you can go back to writing and then see for yourself, where is it that I'm going wrong, or where is it I would like to change my style. I think that's one of the most easiest and safest manner to go ahead with, certainly.
Right, and that will even work if you find your own voice note to be really disturbing, which is, I think, which is the very first step that you need to overcome. But still, it will
Absolutely.
it will give you a kickstart to actually starting the process of practicing this through.
Yes, yes, true, true. Ananya, do you have any questions? I want to ask our viewers that, do you have any questions? Please do drop it in, so that we don't miss out on any questions based on today's discussion and talk. Yes, Ananya.
I guess we had a question in the beginning of the
Ah,
session. We can address that. It was, can we modify our accent while communicating?
okay. Uh, okay. Here's the thing, okay? Words to God. Uh, Accent is not important when you're speaking. Please understand it. Just because somebody has an accent doesn't mean that they have great communication skills. Hell, they might not even know what English is. Okay? They might not even know how grammar works. Okay? Please remove this mentality that I believe that, because of colonization, we have that attitude regarding English or regarding skin tone that, if it's Western, then it's naturally better than us. No, it's not. We have had great speakers from our country. We have had great writers from our country who have put native speakers to shame. And that's something to be very proud of, which takes me back to the point that no. First of all, if you're thinking that, you have to modify your accent because you're speaking to somebody who's from, let's say, England, or who is from the States, I think you're digging yourself a hole, okay? Because you can't keep long. You wouldn't know all the words which would have the same pronunciation. You might know certain words, you might know the basic conversation, but let's say you have to get into the technicality of things. You, I bet you wouldn't know the pronunciations of that particular accent. And then that's embarrassing. Then it's very embarrassing, you know? So please avoid, and let me tell you, Indian English accent, if there is such a thing, it's beautiful, it's fantastic. People understand it just fine. You should be, I want to tell this to everyone, that please feel very proud about the fact that, our English is the only English I feel everybody understands. It's not, the hers are not thick, the sirs are not silent. It's fantastic. So please do not try to work on your accent or accent neutralization. Not necessary. Certainly not. Okay. This is my opinion. Yes, this is my personal opinion. However, a lot of people imitate. I have seen, Ananya, that let's say you're talking to a bunch of Americans, or let's say you're talking to a bunch of, let's say, any person of color, then they start imitating their accent. I don't know how does this, it's a psychological thing. They just start, okay? They just start. That happens when you have a lot of fluidity in your language. Let me tell you that. That happens when you're not, you've not had enough practice in your language. You've not had enough strong base in your language or your accent. That's when it happens, okay? So please understand, if you want to go ahead, I'm nobody to stop you, but it's my opinion that you need not modify your accent. People understand this just fine. And yeah, and our goal is to communicate effectively, not to pretend communicating effectively. So yes, I can only make it this clear.
And I guess your focus should be on understanding the accent more than reciprocating it in the same manner.
True, absolutely. Ananya, till date, to date, okay, I don't understand the accent from New Zealand. I do not understand Australian English at all. I just don't. I'm like, forget pretending. I'm like, I first want to know what they're saying.
Yeah, I need subtitles in real life too.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's so embarrassing. And let's say, just to show ourselves to be very, see, one word, two words, I absolutely get it. Okay, just to even make fun, just for gags, whenever we are pretending to have an accent and we try to talk, one, two sentences, let's say 10 sentences, I would know how to have an accent and how to speak with. What about the words? What about the technical conversations I would have? I wouldn't know how to call it off. Then imagine the embarrassment. You're speaking something in American English and suddenly your vernacular Indian accent comes in. Then that is very shameful.
Yeah.
That is very shameful for me.
It's fun when you're actually trying to make something comical, but
Yeah.
in an actual conversation, that would be really embarrassing.
It would be, yes. So please avoid this. This is what causes shame to our accent, I feel. Then that's why people end up making fun of our Indian accent, which is not okay. So please try to avoid this. We have a beautiful, excellent accent, and please stick to that because it's comfortable for you. You've known this, okay? Yes. Does anybody have any other question?
I think we just have people agreeing with you, which is great. But no other questions. I just want to remind everybody, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them. And if you haven't followed Alpha Board yet, go follow us because we have these amazing sessions and even engagement with you guys, and you're going to love it. So just follow us and stay updated with us. So
Absolutely. So I
I
think we're
guess,
good.
yeah,
Yes.
don't have any
Yes, Ananya.
questions.
Lovely, lovely. Perfect, Ananya. So I hope that everyone, including you, remember these steps and feel, but I at least hope, the only hope I have after this talk is that everyone gets comfortable with their own voice notes and not feel embarrassed or traumatized.
Right, I'm going to start practicing that now. I send a lot
Yes,
of voice notes even when it is regarding work, but I don't listen to them again. So I'm going
it's
to start doing
terrific.
that now and
Yes.
feel comfortable with my own voice.
Absolutely, absolutely. So please practice that. And every time, you feel that you're obstructing with, or let's say you're having trouble in articulation of thoughts, in articulation of speech, every time, the only key is to know what you're talking about. If you're confident about your content, then these other things become secondary at that moment. So then you work otherwise in that manner, or else you're good to go.
Okay, I guess this was a really great session, and we don't have any questions, so that brings us to
Lovely.
the end of this session. So I just want to thank you, Coach, for all these tips, and I hope that everybody learned something new today and that they're going to practice this very same thing right from right after we actually end the live, because it's not something that will take a lot of time, and it's something that will improve your articulation of thought. So thank you again, Coach, for this amazing
Thank
session.
you, Ananya. Yes, I had fun with you today, and yes, I hope to see you soon in our next session.
Same here, Coach. Bye.
Bye. Have a lovely evening, all of you. Bye bye. Take care.